Chapter 799. As soon as the old lady passed out, Michael rushed forward before he grabbed hold of the old woman's collar as he shook her vigorously in anger. The old lady woke up as soon as she passed out because she was being so vigorously shaken by Michael. As soon as she opened her eyes, Michael reprimanded her immediately. "Didn't you say that no one else would be able to find those antiques aside from you? Now, all of our antiques are gone. They're all gone. How is our family going to survive and continue living now?" Lady Richard could not help but feel a sharp pain in her heart. She could not stop crying out loud. She was in deep grief and she kept wailing as she said, "I really didn't know that things would turn out like this. If I had known that things would end up like this, I wouldn't have had all of my antiques at home even if it would kill me." As she spoke, the old lady could not stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. "It's over. Everything is really over now. My hard work in this entire lifetime is really over." Harold was also very desperate at this time. He started crying as he said, "We have nothing left now. We won't even have any food to eat for dinner tonight. Even if we don't have any food, we can still go hungry. However, where are we going to sleep tonight? We don't even have a roof over our heads now. Are we really going to be sleeping out on the streets tonight?" Olivia started crying as soon as she heard her brother's words. "Are we really going to be wandering aimlessly out on the streets? I don't want to be sleeping on the streets." At this time, the law enforcement officers and the workers have already begun moving all of the items in the villa into their trucks. The old lady could only watch silently as the law enforcement officers took all her antiques away. She started crying and sobbing loudly in the courtyard. Lady Richard even tried to rush forward to snatch her antiques from the workers, but she was immediately stopped by the law enforcement officers. Michael was even angrier at this moment. He was fuming with anger. He really felt like kicking Lady Richard because he felt that this old woman was really extremely selfish. She was really way too selfish. What was even more important was the fact that her selfishness bore her no fruits at all. All of the antiques that she had been hiding from them had now been confiscated. It was completely impossible for them to ever get their hands on those antiques again in this lifetime. The law enforcement officers and workers moved all of the valuable items away before they placed the family's worthless clothing and some broken furniture on the side of the road by the gate. As soon as they were done moving everything, the representative from the court placed a paper to seal the front door of the villa. After that, the person in charge came to the courtyard before he told the 4 family members of the Richard family. "We are also going to stick a paper on the main gate to notify the public that the court has already sealed this villa. Please cooperate with us and move out of the courtyard now. You are now officially prohibited from entering this villa." "I will not leave. This is my home. Why should I leave?" Lady Richard's eyes were already red and swollen as she continued crying. Her hair was completely disheveled and she looked like one of the women in a novel who has been trapped inside a well for decades. The person in charge said, "This villa has already been sealed up by the court. Therefore, this is no longer your home. If you continue to insist on staying here, you will only be getting in our way and obstructing our official duties. We will have the right to detain you then." Michael and his children hurried out of the courtyard as soon as they heard the other party's words. They did not want to be dragged back and locked up at the detention center for a few days at a time like this. Lady Richard was initially very reluctant to leave. However, at this time, there was no one else left in the courtyard and there was no one left to support her. Therefore, she could only cry as she walked out of the courtyard slowly. After stepping out of the gate, the representative from the court placed the seal on the gate before he said, "Lady Richard, you have 3 months to try raising some money to repay your debts. If you do not have enough money to repay your debts within the next 3 months, all of the items confiscated from this villa will be auctioned off to settle your debt. If we cannot manage to raise enough money to repay your debt through the auction, then your creditors will most likely file a lawsuit against you. Lady Richard could only slump down in front of her villa with a desperate look on her face. Her villa was only worth about $17 to $18 million at most. Besides that, the court would probably be able to auction off her antiques and cultural relics for about $10 million. They would only be able to raise about $30 million at most. The current debt of Richard Group amounted to at least $60 million. They would not be able to raise enough money at all.